I'll be finishing that afterwards. So this is Dzemael Darkhold, which is the second last regular dungeon before you hit 50 on, and which means it's the second last, I think, original Realm Reborn sort of dungeon. And it's a nice dark place, as you can see, which is where it gets its name, Darkhold. And cast Protect first, which is what you always want to do as a healer, more than likely. And I'm hoping that my tank, being a Arc Knight, means that he knows what he's doing, but you can never truly rely on that. But see, he's pulling more than most as well, so I may actually need to heal. First thing to note is the sort of purple areas there, which actually prevent you from taking damage from, or at least taking big damage from the enemy that flies around that is an Ahriman. Looks like he's actually going to be doing pretty well, so I might not even need to focus on healing. I'll see if I'm right though. Which is good. This is a good tank who can hold aggro, it seems, and tank a lot of enemies at the same time. Which means I can focus on doing the DPS as well as healing with my pet, which is the way I should be doing it. I do have to watch his health, however, because obviously he's being attacked by 6-7 enemies there, and it is technically my job to keep him alive. But thankfully he is a pretty good tank, or seems to be. And we're getting through this relatively quickly. Although I'm going to get hit by this, which is not good. Oh, never mind. I'm wrong. The all-seeing eye, which is the Ahriman I was talking about, wanders to and from the area that you're in the first part of the game, but you cannot actually attack it. And if you're outside of the purple area, I believe it does 1001 damage. And I've got to watch because he's decided to run off, apparently. Which is not very smart of him, because I'm not going to reach him in time. I just about made that. Yeah, it does more damage if you're outside of the little area here, which is why you always try and keep yourself in. So obviously you take a lot less damage and don't die. I know the first time that I did this place, I actually stood right in the middle of the floor and was wondering why I was dying. And it was obviously because I didn't know anything about the place, and it showed. But other than not being quite ready for him running off, everything in this run is going perfectly. And he's able to hold aggro, which is a vast improvement on some of the tanks that I've seen before, including myself. The first thing notice, you may have seen a Magitech counter sort of thing come up. You didn't really get a good look at it, but it is that little blue thing over there. And in order to open this door right in front of me, just over there, you actually have to stand in that. And there's another one that was just over in the group, or like the little area we were in there. And then after that we enter here, and so does the all-seeing eye, who, as you can see there's more crystals, is actually the first boss. And I just realized I don't have my pet, and he's going to start the fight before I summon it. Not ideal, but basically for the fight against the all-seeing eye, you always have to be fighting him within the purple area of the crystals, or he will not take damage. And it obviously, his splash attack is the same as when you were outside. If you don't, or if you are outside of the purple area, it will do extra damage to you. The main thing is to notice, showing now, the light will actually grow dim, and when it grows dim, the person will, I'm dead, if I don't heal quickly. Yeah, I didn't get the chance to heal in time. Because I didn't reach the thing there in time, I actually didn't get... I got hit for 1001 instead of 101, which was not ideal. And then I was also being attacked at the time by other enemies. And the thing that the summoner's not doing is resurrecting me, which would be quite handy to the situation. And they're also taking way too long to get into the area, but we should still make it as long as one of the DPS's use their limit break. I can just res myself there. If I was on keyboard, I would have just said, it's alright, you're a... Dark Knight, and Dark Knights are one of the best survivable ones on their own, in my opinion. And not the way I was hoping to show this, but that's the sort of thing that happens if you don't get it in time. And it wasn't his fault that I was being attacked, but I just double up the protect, because I may as well keep everybody's on the same timer. But main thing to notice about this room is the nicks here, instead of pulling, actually have a push. And the push will actually push you off the floor down below, which is far from ideal, because you will have to go through nicks and there is no way up without going through the nicks, so everybody has to go down, or you'll be bringing a bunch of extra mobs with you and they won't be happy if you're doing that. So this is going to be a fun video for sure. At least I can actually show what happens when you do wrong. As well as only things that are perfectly done or well done. Because it's obviously more helpful to see mistakes at times as well, I find. I also just realized I don't have cleric stance on, which I should. Oh, there it is now. And is that one asleep? Yeah, so I don't want to actually spread my dot to him so I don't wake him up. That's the laboured leaf there, which obviously you can't stop the pets going in for, but did somebody fall there? Yeah. This is basically what happens when somebody falls. You end up stuck with a bunch of mobs to fight. And that is why you try and avoid that actually happening. Because it makes the job of the healer much harder and the job of the tank. Because it means that they're taking damage, they're fighting a lot more mobs than they would want to be, theoretically. But as I've said before, this seems like a fairly decent party, other than my stupid death at the first boss. Everything's been grand. And the other thing to watch for is those crystals actually explode and do damage to you, so you obviously want to avoid that as much as possible. It doesn't do a lot of damage, but if you're in the middle of a fight, it can be the difference between life and death, basically. But yes, for the most part with the mobs, unless your healer's getting low on health, like, or your tank is getting lower on health, like so, you should be focusing on making sure that everybody has your dots on them and that they're taking damage from you constantly, so as to continue the dungeon quicker and get through it faster, basically. There's one that you have to watch because it actually goes off twice, one on each side, and you obviously don't want to get hit in it. And usually, I don't know actually what you should be targeting first here, but I target the Forsaken Souls because they have a AoE that reduces your TP, which if you're a melee class, it's not quite as big deal in this party here, but in any class that like uses non-magic attacks, they for the most part will use TP over MP. So I just like getting it out of the way. But the other thing is the dragon has an AoE attack, I'm pretty sure, so getting it out of the way also makes sense. And this is the second boss, is it? Yeah. Who appears right after somebody enters the thing, I think. Yeah, there it is. His name is Tollard. And basically, the hardest part about him is actually not the boss itself. He has two AoEs, one that he aims forward at the tank and one that aims backwards towards the rest of the party, because obviously they should be behind. But after you've taken enough health down, he will actually get variable summon mobs to help him, who just keep firing attacks that you have to keep dodging. And that is the most difficult part of the fight, not actually. And they also target whoever they feel like, not and can't be provoked by the tank. So as the scholar, you will have to watch everybody's health, not just the tanks. And make sure you keep them all high. Like, as long as they're all above 1,000 health, you should be fine to continue DPSing, in my opinion. As long as you make sure you don't get hit, which is a bit of pain in any class that actually uses like spells or any casting, because you can't move when, because you can't move when you're casting, and you have to move or you're probably going to take a fair bit of damage. Because obviously you can technically move, but the spell won't cast. And the next area is the last parts before the final boss, which lead more to the things that you've seen before in both the explosive crystals and the trying to think of words here. Magitech things that I briefly touched on that opens the door, because you've got to use them to open the magic barrier there. And for the most part, say it's going to be focusing on using your pet macro to keep your tank alive, and then after that focusing on the DPSing with your dots, keeping cleric stance up like I'm not, but example of something I should be doing. For the most part, it's fairly simple. All you have to do is keep using Ruin 2 when in between casting. dots and using your Aetherflow when you see fit. I probably shouldn't have used mine there. I probably should have waited until after he pulled the Hellsbound Warriors and used it to spread it to both of them. And then, as I say, just keeping on them, all the debuffs. And then continue running them, and then after you've killed all of the mobs in the room, is the point where you have to actually take damage from those crystals. Because the two Magitech things are actually in with them. And again, I probably should have saved that, but for the sake of how little health they're going to have by the time I really spread the set of dots, it's not really worth it. Just like you also have to watch when you cast. Like here is where I have to actually take damage, and I take quite a lot of damage from that. But not quite enough to kill me, thankfully. Although, not far off of it. It's one of the joys of being a healer. You're really not tanky at all. And it's something I have to get used to. Yeah, there's a short, I think 2 or 3 more groups of mobs to fight before before the next boss, which is the last boss of the dungeon. And one group is the Labadrix here, who have like a triangle cone sort of AoE that you have to watch for, and conal AoE is what I should have said. And basically it's just dodging that and continuing with making sure your tanks healed and your DPSs are you're casting your dots. And the second group is the Hellsbound Warriors here. I will try and get a better angle. There we go. So obviously you don't really want to be looking at well, view for a Lalafell quite literally. You have to watch, they do a fair amount of damage, and I'm actually in range of that. But nothing too scary there, just continue dotting. And that is the final, or not final, I think it's, no, it is the final actually, fight inside of Dzemael Darkhold before the last boss, who is a nice friendly looking guy, as you can see. This is the boss, who's called Betrayal, who is one of the takes quite a few things from the first boss, in that he can become invincible at times, and also he has a conal AoE from his attack there, I'm pretty sure, so you want to make sure you're not in range of that. and in general keeping out of range for any of his attacks. And whenever he summons this, you have to kill the corrupted crystal before you can actually damage him again. And he will target one person to shoot the AoE he's shooting off there afterwards. And in that case it was the tank, and in general if you're the one that is targeted, you want to stay as far away possible from the rest of your team so they can continue to do the damage while you avoid his attacks. And he does that 3 times. Here's the second one, and there's 3 crystals around the room. And basically it's just continuing to dodge out of the way and keep up the DPS on it so that you can attack. And he will actually, I think he does the attack 3 times and then he chooses his next victim, which was actually me there, but I never got the chance to really get attacked to show how to get out of the way, but he also has an AoE if you're close enough, which is my fault for being in range, but there we go, that's that sorted. And then he's on to his third crystal, which is this one here. He will always get the same 3 crystals, the crystals in the same order every time. And after you're done with the 3rd crystal, he will actually start opening, or it says he unleashes his fury, which causes parts of the ground to turn into like a void area, which is the purple stuff under people, and when you're standing in that it's basically a continuous dot. That's the wrong one. Which is the seal of pitch there that you saw. And I have a feeling that wherever the mage was, they were out of range of my heal, unfortunately. Fairly simple battle in the end though. Just avoid the dots, avoid the AoEs, and don't stand in front of them unless you're the tank.